Hi everyone, David here from daviddumaiaudio.com, and in this video I want to show you guys how I use my Stream Deck for sound design. Now for those who may not know what a Stream Deck is, it's basically a little pad like this which has 3x5 keys, like buttons that you can press, so 15 buttons. There's also one that has 32 and one that has 6. I just have the one that has 15. And basically it's just a macro pad, so you can press a button and it'll do a task that you assign it to on your computer. So let me show you what that actually looks like in my programs and how I use it for sound design and why it's really useful. All right, so here we are in Nuendo, and what we're going to do for this video is I'm not so much going to talk about how to program the Stream Deck down here, because there's so many videos on YouTube that you can find how to do that. But the reason I wanted to make this video is more to show my workflow and how I use it and what I assign buttons to and how I organize it and things like that. So why don't we just jump in? So because I use Nuendo as my main DAW, so I have a profile set up here, and the way I have set it up on the main page is I have 5 folders at the top. So I have export up here. After that, I have MIDI, audio, tracks, and other. So I'll go through these quickly later, but we'll keep going for now. So down at the bottom here, I have my transport. So these 2 buttons here just go between events. So it's really easy for me to just go back and forth if I'm trying to just find a sound or just start playing from a specific place in a sound file. So that's what these do. They're really quick and easy to do that. And next is just the play button. So play and stop, which is nice because then I don't need an actual stop button. I just press play twice. And then of course I have record. So if I just want to record something, just go, here, press record. And then when I'm done, can press record again and it's going to stop. Or I just press the play button, which stops it as well. And then finally, if I just select something or an area, I can loop it. So I just set my locators around certain files like this by pressing P. P for me is the preset I have set up, and then I just press this loop function if I want it to loop or not. So this is nice and handy whenever I'm working on sound effects and I just need it to repeat just so I can keep it going. All right, the next thing I have is I'll start so I have close all windows up here. I'll show you what that does. So first thing is open VSTIs. So this is for like face plant here, so I can open his face plant or contact. I just press that to open it. So I just click on the track, I click to open, and then it opens it up, which is really nice and handy. I don't have to come up here and click on it or anything. Or if like this is like minimized or something like that, I don't have to do that. I can just click on open and it'll open, or close if it's already opened. And then of course, close all windows is just going to close all these at once in one button, which is really nice. All right, next I have the lower zone here, and this is for either my sampler, if I have a sampler or track, or the mix console, though I don't really normally use it for the mix because I have a separate screen that I use for that. Then I have show and hide track. So right now I only have one track that actually has information and audio on it. So it's hiding everything else, which is just great to keep your session clean. So that's what this button here does. And then I have open and close folders. So I don't really have anything in folders, but if I wanted to, I can put this in a folder and then I can just click that to open it and close it. Which is nice if you ever make sound designs with multiple tracks folders, just quick and easy to hide them and then open them up if you need to. All right, let's look at the top up here. So I'll start at the top right. I don't really use very much. Actually, this is just a spare page I have to set up just in case I want to try out any kind of macros or buttons. Tracks, this I use for mostly for adding tracks. I can add an audio track like that. Pick what kind of track I want to have. And then just add track. I could also do instrument track, add an effects track, add a group track. The one I use a lot is whenever I have like a sound file like this, let's say here, maybe I'll put it on a new track here. So I might have that here. I might say add group track to selected. So if I have this one selected, I'll add a group track to that. And now it's sent to a group. So if I look on my mixer here, I should have a group 7 here. So I have this group 7 that was just created so that this sound effect goes into group 7 and is routed into group 7. So now this is nice, especially if you have, multiple different tracks like this. I could go like this and I could grab all of these and say group all of these into one group, add it, and then I have a new group where they are all bus to, and then I can process them that way. All right, apart from that, just a color track. This is to keep my sessions organized and color coded. I have another close all windows. And then mostly down here, I don't really use these. Again, it's just add a sampler track, adding a loudness track, and a ranger track. So Nothing I use very much, but they're there just in case I need them. All right, next is my audio. This one, surprisingly, I don't use it very much either, because I find that myself using it more doing manual work on my audio rather than using this. But if I wanted to, so the reason I have these here is because what I can do is I can grab like all these sound files, and the ones I use the most are down here. So fade in, fade out. So I can just add a fade in and a fade out like that, or I can just remove all the fades like that. Now they don't really work for these super short sound files because the fade ins are way too long. But if you look at a file like this, which is quite a bit longer, I can just grab this, add a fade in, add a fade out, and now I know that my sound is not going to clip at the beginning or at the end. Same thing with this one here. I can just go like that, add a fade in, fade out, remove if I need to. So I can just also grab like that. If I have multiple files, I can just grab them like that, press both buttons at once, and then they both have fade ins and fade outs. So it's a really quick way to do it. All right, the next one I have here is monitor on and off. This is mostly used if I have a microphone, so I can hear myself talking into it. And the rest I'm not going to touch because they're actually similar to what I have on another screen, which is my export screen. But next I have my MIDI. This is mostly when I do composing. So I have stuff for quantizing. Quantizing, again, open the VSTI, which is the same one I had on this page right here. I have step input. And yeah, just other things. They're not really sound design-y stuff, so I'm not going to touch that too much. But the one I do use a lot is this one right here. So on here, well, let's start from the top. So at the very top, I have what I have a cycle marker, and what this does is that it's actually a macro that I have set up on Nuendo, and what it does is it sets up a marker on individual sound effects. So if I click on it, you'll see I have a marker set up right here, number 1, and it's around sound effect number 1 here. Whoop. So if I do it again, then it keeps going to the next, next, and next. Now this is really useful because using this, I can actually export sound effects really quickly. Let me show you what I mean. But before I do, if you guys are interested in how I created this macro, I actually made a video about it, and I'll put it in the cards right now so you guys can have a look at it. But basically, what it does is I can basically even hold this down. Bam, I have all my sound effects labeled with locators. Now what I can do is just click this export button. Now I'm in my export panel. Now I can just quickly export by selecting locators. I grab all my locators, and cycle markers, sorry. Bam, I have all of them set up. Now I can just choose my file path, name, and I'm done. I can just click export. So that's why they're super fast, super easy, and I use that all the time. All right, so let's move on here. So these top 2 at the top right, I don't use, so I'm not going to touch that. And same with this cycle marker 2. I don't use that one, so I'm not going to touch that. But let's look at the next one. So next one is select all on track. So it just selects all my events on this track. So all audio files on the track, it selects all of them. Next, what I'll normally do is place all events at the start. So it puts them all at 0, and it keeps the same distance apart. So if I put it here and I click on it, just moves them all to 0, which is nice, keeps your project organized. Next thing that I like to do is these 2 down here. So this one here is to add a second between all my audio clips. So if you look at these down here, you see there's a big space and big gap between these 2. Between this long clip and then these little ones. If I select all of them, now they have the same amount of gap between them, which is 1 second between each of them. So if I undo that, another one that I have right beside here is to add space between the audio. And this one is just for me, so I can select, let's say I want more or less. So let's say I want just 0.2 seconds. Now they're even closer together. So that's what these do. Auto fades, I don't really touch because I already have that set up. And then remove silences. So this one's really nice because let's say I grab this file here and I click remove silence. What it's going to do is it's just going to process it and remove silence based on the threshold. So normally my threshold is set to like -80, which is pretty much silence. As you can see here, it's not going to cut anything out. So I can click process, and that's that. But what I normally do is I would select everything on the track and then remove all the silence, and then click process all selected events right here. Now I can process, and now it's going to do it for all of them. Now all of them I've already removed the silence, so you're not going to see anything. But if I'm ever doing like rough drafts or just generating ideas and sounds and stuff like that, this is really useful just to clean up my file so that I don't have massive files with just empty spaces in the sound files. And once I have that done, then I'm ready to go and do my cycle marker, export. And of course, then I also have my mute on mute here. And I can, again, show and hide my tracks to keep my project organized. And that's basically it for this one. So I really only use this export function, export folder a lot. And of course, transport and these these tasks down here. So pretty simple. That's how I use it for Nuendo. So now I'm just going to move on to RX because I use that a lot in RX as well. All right, so here we are in RX by Isotope, and I use this a lot for just editing my sound because it's very visual. I can see what the sound is, if there's any spaces in the sound, if there's any clipping, anything like that. It's just really clear. I really like it. So let's go through this one. So again, I have this set up in a similar way. As you'll notice, up at the top I have folders. So I have my export folder, my sound effects folder, my voiceover folder, music folder whenever I'm doing music stuff, and then close all tabs, which just closes everything that I have opened. After that, I have processes, so I can normalize whatever audio is on the screen here. That's open in the tab. I can do a gain, process the gain, process a plugin. So if I have a plugin selected, which let's see what it is. So if I click on my plugin list here, so the plugin I have right now is Ozone, and I have it set up so it's just a compressor on here. So if I press plugin, it's going to process that compressor, and then spectral denoise is just going to do spectral denoise on the file. So I don't normally use these because I actually have them in my sound effects folder, which I will show you guys really soon. And then these down here are just to open a certain module. So here, this opens my stats module, which I have here, which I have set up actually on my other screen. Here, my spectral denoise module, again on my other screen, just opens and closes them. So they're right here. So it just makes it really convenient. If I ever want to see something, I can just click on it there. All right, so let's actually show you guys what I mean. So the only two folders I really use are export and sound effects. So in my sound effects here, first tab is my next tab. And this just goes, if I have multiple sound effects, it'll just go to the next tab. So if let's say I load another one and then I go next tab, next. It just toggles between all the tabs. Next is just selecting everything. And then I have a play button right here. So I can press play on the file. So next after that, I have it to keep selection. So if I highlight something like here and I press keep selection, it's going to delete everything else except for the selection that I have. So that's really convenient, especially if you have something like this, like I just have silences at the ends. I can just select the file I want, keep silence, and then I just have the file left. So I didn't clean up that part very well, so I can just click delete, which I also have right here. All right, now with that said, I then have my redo and undo in case I ever make a mistake like that. I can undo it, or I can redo it if I want to. So that's really quick. Next one that's really nice and convenient is I have my fade. So I have my fade in and my fade out. So right here on the left, I have my fade in because that's on the left-hand side of the file. So I can just click that. I can click as many times as I want or just once to have a fade in. Now I know that there won't be any clipping on my sound file. Same thing at the end. Bam, that's done. I also have, like I mentioned before, a delete. This one is nice. It's a spectral learn button. So what I do is if I have noise in the sound file, so this is not the best file to do, not this one either. But if I had noise in the sound file, let's say this was like background noise here. I could click spectral learn. It's going to learn this, this sound file and then, or this portion of the sound file, which is the noise. And then what I can do is spectral denoise, which is going to apply a reduction of that sound file to the rest of the sound. So now it's removing all that noise that I just had in that sound file to the whole sound. So I have a much cleaner sound. So these are just really convenient because they're just two buttons. It's just highlight this part where there's noise, learn, and then apply to the entire sound file. It's just two buttons, really quick. Next, I have the same thing here. If I want to normalize, I click normalize, and it normalizes it to -1 dB, which is what I have set it to. That's just the preset or the settings I have. So as you can see here, I have actually -1.2, should be at -1. Like that. So this is my target dBFS. Whenever I'm doing sound effects, I don't ever want it to peak at 0, so I just set it to -1, normalize. Gain, this is going to apply the gain that I have. So my gain is always -0.5. So if I just press gain, it just goes down by -0.5, and I can do it as many times as I want, right? And then it's just going to attenuate and bring it down by -0.5. And then, of course, the plugin again, this is the compressor. So it's just going to compress my file just a little bit. It's really not much. It's like 0.5, like that. And then I can just normalize the file after it's been compressed a little bit. And then I have this new compressed file. So that's pretty much it for this folder. And this is how I use it. Now, the other folder I use a lot is my export folder right here. And it's not... I don't have a super clean setup for this one, but let me kind of quickly show you guys what I have. So I basically have select everything. So I select all means if I only have this selected and I press the select all, it's going to select the entire file. So that's what that does. And then what I do is I have an export function. So it just exports and exports exactly where I want it to go, which is nice. So I can then choose the folder I want to put it in and the file name and save that. Now, if I'm working on a sound file and it's already named the way I want it to be named and is the way I want it to be, then what I can do, so I won't do it with this one, but let's say I was at this one, is I have an export single. So this is for a single sound effect. And if I press this, it's going to export it. And so let's say I press export and I click OK. This is what it's going to do. It's going to click OK. It's going to say, do you want to save it? Yes, because I'm putting it back in the same folder with the same name, everything. And then do you want to overwrite it? And then it's going to click yes. So if I do this single export, it's going to do that all for me really quickly, just like that. And I didn't have to do anything except for click one button. So that's really quick. The button down here, I have this, it's the same thing as the single export, except it's for multiple exports. So what it's going to do is actually, it's going to do the same thing as the single, except then it's going to go to the next tab and export that one, the next tab, export that one 5 times. So really convenient because it just, I click one button and then it's just going to export all the, well, 5 of the sound effects that I have in RX. And if I have another 5, I just click it again, exports those other 5. So it's really quick at exporting and make sure that there's no mistakes, no typos in the sound file or anything, and it goes right back to the folder that it was in. So really useful for that. And that's pretty much it for this. The only other one I have, like I said here, is I have close up here on the top right. So if I close that, I can click close all, and then it's just going to close all my sound files. If I make edits to them, RX is going to ask me if I want to save it, and I never save RX projects. So that's why I have these here. I just say, depending on how many sound effects I have loaded, if I have 5 sound effects loaded, I'm going to save 5 here. And then it's just going to say, no, don't save 5 times because it's going to ask 5 times for the sound effect. So that's what that is. But a quick overview of how I use it for RX. All right. And finally, I think I'm going to show you guys how I use it inside of Basehead. For those who don't know, Basehead is basically a sample library manager. So you can import, sound effects from anywhere on your computer on any drive, and it'll be all in one place, and you can search for them. And it's just super nice, easy. You can rename files here in the rename tab. You can process them. You can play around with the pitch. So a lot of stuff you can do. So let's say I'm doing something like this. I can then play with the direction, the pitch. I can add sound effects here based on whatever plugins I have. So anyways, really powerful. But the way I like to use it, so I'll stop this here. All right, so there's only really 3 or 4 buttons that I use. One is, let's say I'm looking for a specific type of sound effect. So let's say I'm looking for like a glitch sound effect, and I don't have a particular one I have in mind. What I'll do is I'll just randomize. So I'll click this middle button here. And this is my randomize button. What it's going to do is it's just going to pick a sound every time I click it, and it's going to play it for me. I'm going to choose a new sound file within the glitch. So like that. And it's just going to find whatever for me. So, and then it just plays. So it's just always randomizing that sound file. So until I can find one that I like, then if I like it, what I can then do is just grab it and drag it into Nuendo like this. So that's the first sound, the first way I like to use the Stream Deck for Basehead. Next way is import audio. So I just have a button if I ever want to import audio. So I can just click, name the import. So let's say I'm importing, like Magic Sounds. And then I can just go into my folder, click select, go into my folder, find it, and then click import. I'm not going to do that right now, but I mean, it's basic, simple stuff like, it's in your folder, you choose a folder that you want, and then click OK, import, that's it. The next one that's pretty cool is that I have is for metadata. So let's say I have a bunch of sound effects that I want to have metadata for. Like let's say these 3 here. I want to include metadata for these. They don't have any metadata, or the ones that they do, they're very basic, or maybe I want to change some of them. So what I'll do is I'll click that. It's import metadata, import export metadata. So I'll click on the export here, all fields. This is what I normally do because I want all the fields available so that I can change them. And then I can click export. And what it's going to do, it's going to save it as a CSV folder. And then once I have that, let's say I save it to my desktop here. So now I have all of these sound files that I just exported on here. And what I can do for all of them is I can just go ahead and quickly change whatever. Let's say I'm the artist for all of them. I just can quickly put in my name and then just copy and paste. So copy that and then put it for all of these sounds like this, paste like that. So I'm the artist. Maybe that's the only metadata part I wanted to insert and change, is just that I'm the artist. And then so I can save that, close it. I can go back inside of Basehead here, and then I can click that same button again, the import export metadata. This time I'm going to click import. I'm going to find it on my desktop, the test here. And then I can click import, and it's going to change the artist name to David for all of these sound files. So that's really useful if you're ever creating a library or you're ever doing work or you want to find something really quickly. Like you can add, for example, if you have a search field, you want to put it into notes, and inside of the notes, you want to put a note to yourself like you use this for a certain project that you're working on. Well, the next time you search, you can search for the project, your project name, project X, and then all the sounds that have this note, that has project X inside of the notes that you created, then they will show up here, and you can just grab and drag them into your DAW or whatever it is that you're working on. So it's really convenient for that. Next button I have is the one down here, which is spot to track. It's a little glary, but spot to track. And what that does is it's just going to send it over to Nuendo on the track that I have selected. So if I'm in Nuendo here, let's say I click a new audio track. So I have audio track number 7 here. I'm going to put my transport right here. And now if I go back into Basehead, and let's say this is the sound I want, this one right here. Let's say I click spot the track. It's going to send it right to the track, right at the transport line. And there it is. Now I can use that in my project. So that's really nice and convenient. The other thing I could do is, let's say I want that also spot the track. So I spot it. Let's say I want this one and another one. Bam. So now I have all of them spotted to the track right at the line. Obviously, you can't see them because they're on top of each other. But then what I can do, of course, is go back in here and I can add space between these files. So just click that button. Bam. Look at that. All of them are nice, spaced out. I go in here. They're not cleaned up. I can remove silences, remove silence for all events, process. And let's see what it looks like. Look at that. All the silences that have been removed. So now the files are nice and clean. I can put them again back close together, and there you go. Now all my sound effects are ready. I can start working and layering them and doing whatever I might want to do with these sound effects. So that's basically it for Basehead. It's really simple, but I don't need much more than that. And that's pretty much it. So the rest that I use, the other ways that I use a Stream Deck whenever I'm doing sound design is usually just for simple tasks that are repetitive, such as renaming. I might just do like a quick hotkey where I press down and enter a lot. Well, instead of me pressing down and enter all the time, I just click a button where I press down and enter. But that's pretty much it. So anyways, I think that's it for this video. I would love to know how you guys use the Stream Deck. If you have one, how do you guys use it? Because I'm always looking for ways to improve my workflow. And so I'd love to know if there's something I'm missing, if there's something I missed, how you guys use it, how I can make it more effective. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. That's it for now. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.